Which of the following physical quantities are derived? I, area, I, thrust, I, pressure, IV, mass. So here are the options. Well, let's see which option will be correct. So when we talk about derived units are units in which in them you can find units of other fundamental units. That is, you can find fundamental units in them. So let's start with area. Let's start with area. Area, definition of area is the length times what? The breadth. That's the basic definition of area. And then in this area, the unit for measuring a length is meter, which is a fundamental unit because you can't find any other kind of unit in the unit meter. And then breadth is also a length on its own. It's also what? A length. Because you are measuring the vertical length. Breadth means vertical length. Vertical means like this. Horizontal means like this. So when we say length on its basic meaning, it means horizontal distance or measure. Then when we talk of breadth, we are talking about the vertical part of it, but it's still a length. So, and the unit for measuring breadth, which is also a length, is meter. So you find out that in this physical quantity that we call area, there are two fundamental units in it. We have the first meter here, second meter here, and if you multiply them, it will give you meter squared. That means the unit for area is meter squared. So area is a derived unit. Area is a derived unit because if you split it, you find two units in them. You find two fundamental units in them, which is the first length and the second length, which is meter. So area is derived. So let's look at thrust. Thrust means a force that tends to push a body up. For instance, in Archimedes' principle, when a body is being submerged in water, it experiences an up thrust. That's upward force. A force that tends to try to stop that thing from sinking, keep it afloat. So thrust, in its basic definition, is a force. Thrust is a force. And the universal definition of force is what? Mass. The product of mass times what? Acceleration. It doesn't matter whether it's gravitational acceleration or irregular acceleration. And in force, in this physical quantity force or thrust, in this physical quantity force or thrust, you can find mass here, which is a fundamental quantity measured in kilogram. And acceleration means what? Velocity over time. And velocity on its own means what? Displacement or distance over time. Another time. So in velocity, you have displacement or distance is measured in meter. So we find in acceleration we have what? Meter, which is a fundamental quantity. So in fact, thrust is a derived unit because if you open it up, you find fundamental units, other fundamental units in them. So thrust is a derived unit. Then we look at pressure. The definition of pressure is what? Force over area, or you say force per unit area. That's the definition. It means what amount of force is exerted on a small area, on an area. The larger the force on a smaller area, the more the pressure. So anytime you split a physical quantity or you define a physical quantity and force is being mentioned and force is part of the definition, forget it. That quantity is a derived unit. Force itself is a derived unit. So once you open it up and see force on it, is a derived unit. Pressure is a derived unit. Then when you talk of mass, the unit for mass is what? Kilogram. And there is no other unit that you can bring out from this unit. Is there any other fundamental unit here? I don't know. It's just kilogram. That's just the basic. There's no length attached. There's no meter attached to it. There's no other kilogram attached to it. There's not just kilogram. You measure mass in what? Kilogram. So mass is a fundamental unit, which is the odd one here, which is the odd option here. So the question says, which of the following physical quantities are derived? So that means the first one is derived, the second one is derived, the third one is derived, the fourth one is a fundamental quantity, is not derived. So our option will be and I. Which one coincides? I, and I only. Option B. Thank you.